Hey, hey, hey. Just give me a moment trying to get the links. Live on YouTube as well. And on Twitter as well. Okay. Let me have my chat window sorted. Okay. This looks good. This looks good. And everything. Yeah. Okay. So a lot of cleanup going on. And yeah, we had Raycast V2 beta today. So anyone who did not see Twitter news, or maybe Slack community announcement, you would want to try it out as recast.com/new and share your thoughts. Okay. So today the thought is to work on a few ideas. Of course, starting with blank slate and few old ones, but uh, we'll see. We'll see. Any specific thoughts you have or ideas that we would want to start looking at? I'll start sharing my screen in a second. Yep, we are back. Yeah, okay. So I'll be opening up a new note. No, I don't want codex. Uh, I think I had Raycast. Okay. I don't have a hotkey mapped in yet, so could be that. But yeah, stream. Yeah. So the idea is to build a small Glaze app, and then we could have more around that. Mm, I'm checking chat if someone has any suggestions or something, but if there's none, I will go forward with the idea that I was focusing on before. I sort of had a small app working on that, and then maybe we could dive into specific workflows with dictations, hotkeys, and stuff. But yeah, right, so there's this two guides if I was looking at. If I close this one, well, we can discuss the workflows first if that makes sense. No, I don't want workflows. Okay, see how it change. What is going on? Workflows, and here we could discuss a lot of things and how I am trying to get a keyboard first workflow over in my setup, and well, it's not that much complicated, but we are trying to optimize the clicks and the muscle memory per se. The problem right now is that whenever you have a lot of apps or specific commands that you would want to open or extensions you would want to have, the core shortcuts and stuff, they get, a bit more disturbed because there are like only few keys and combinations that you could create with them. uh, but we can use an AI agent to talk to as well. I don't want to just get my own views on this. Let's see how the generative AI has to say on this one. But yeah, let's. The idea is to have the setup of keyboard first. Uh, was to use leader key, aerospace, home row, and raycast, of course. But one thing that I was not able to get too much into was the window tiling, and I think for me that is a bit of a pain point. Let me open the notes as well, and we move it to the side. We maybe zoom it a bit. I don't know. No, the zoom looks bad. I think this is legible. All right, on. Yeah, this is much better. Yeah. Okay. So the idea was to have leader key plus, well, aerospace, home row, and raycast. Now these sort of work hand in hand in specific cases, but not in every way possible. So my initial idea was to have the use of raycast and the extensions that we are using, and then we could have more workflow defined for them. So right now it's just that you have to open raycast and then you can dive into anything specific. It's extensions, GitHub PRs, extensions, cursor projects, and a lot of them. I'll show those things around, but then it's like you have to go a lot deeper inside them, and then you have a few top level extensions which you are using a lot and stuff. So my thought was that we would just don't have a different app that could handle the layering of the shortcuts and stuff. So I don't know. There's like an app which I could show my keyboard movement, like why we have like raycast and then why we are using leader key. Like for my personal use, it's just that you can have combination of keys together, uh, and that creates very strong muscle memory. Let's say if I have this memory where I have like an initial leader key or hyper key coming from my left hand, and then I have a right hand do the action for it. So it's like I have a strong mental model around it. So it's like I have something that initiates from my left hand side, which I would be having a specific keystroke or a pattern coming up, and then I will have the other one from my right hand. So I should have opened that keyboard app. Hmm. Let me see if I can get a key. Yeah, I think it's this. Okay, they don't allow this to work, the multiple key setup. So it does work, but it doesn't work with the this one. So I'll have to use TLDR. I can take a screenshot of this one, maybe. And we can. Oops. I don't need that thing. But yeah, so the idea was to have a combination of leader key that we can press in together, and then from there we go to the other part of the keyboard. So it's like you can either divide it in this way, where these keys are the final ones where the actions go, and these are even layered ones which you can go, and it sort of triggers in a way. So right now my leader key is uh, caps lock, which is the hyper key plus D. So it opens up the group, and then I have defined actions in a way that say O is for opening any app. So if I click O, and then these are the apps that I could be, linking up with the same. So now the idea is that you have leader key on the left hand side, and then you define an action, like what you would want to do, and then you have like single specific letters for those apps. Let's say I want to say open ChatGPT, if I want to open Slack, if I want to open anything else like maybe WhatsApp and stuff like that. So then you have sort of an layer that you get with those sort of combinations. So it's like you have like leader key. Okay, I don't think this is, yeah, leader key, which for us is caps caps plus D, because the like this distance is pretty close. I have caps A, caps S for my more frequent actions, so it didn't make sense to have A and S assigned along with those. So I have kept my leader key as uh, caps plus D. So that's the reason. And then this is sort of triggering the other ones from this point. So you could have uh, more defined shortcuts down the line. So this triggers, and you can have like a launcher for Raycast itself uh, on top of it. It just doesn't mean that you cannot do the same thing with Raycast. It's just that you have more clarity of your hyperkeys, hotkeys defined in a way that you would want to have. So I start with that format, and then I have actions defined, and then specific apps and stuff. So right now I had O as one of the measuring. So if I have O is for open, then you can have U for utility maybe, and things like that. You could have multiple ones. So then you could have layers for those groups. Like I have R for raycast actions, which are these things. So it's like down the line you have pretty strong muscle memory of right left right left right left, so it gets more clear in your mind. So if I do S is specific for system stuff, so it's like I've been using Slack and these two shortcuts, so I've defined them as here. But anything goes in here. So you could have like S for system, then you can have I had R for raycast, D, and you can have W for window management. You can even have A for aerospace. I initially thought of this. Like these are not both. You don't need both, but I'm here to set up my aerospace setup with two monitors. I think it is pretty hard for me for the time being, but yeah, I'll see where I can get with it. Hmm. Okay. So yeah, this was the part that we have for leader key and raycast, why they are a bit separate. And then there's like home row setup or shortcut setup if anyone knows these apps. So I'll quickly show around this one. So if I do Google, I can just create an incognito mode, maybe google.com, and I have home row, and I have forgotten this shortcut to activate it, which is here. Okay, it is what it is. Yeah, okay. This makes sense, and for searches, yeah, okay. This is good. So it's basically like you don't need to, reach to your mouse at all. In this case, I have both my hands on keyboard, mouse is up, and if I do Command Shift D, then I have QF, which opens this one. So if I have to search for, let's say, short cat, short, okay, this is triggering a recast snippet which I have, which I'll have to remove it. But then I don't have to press enter. I have to search the AI mode, right? So if I go Command Shift S and I do AI mode, so it is there, and I can click on it, and it's just done. It's pretty easy to do and fairly simple. This, and I am using Homebrew app, but there's like a free app which is this one, Shortcat. It is open source for what I know. Oh, you cannot search in GitHub now. Okay. So I can do. Can you help me with the GitHub URL for the same Shortcat app? Feels pretty weird to say Shortcat. Yeah, it's available on Brew, and it is. Well, I don't know why it says. Okay, yeah, this is pretty old one. Which one? Okay, we can just go to their original site. I think maybe it's not available on GitHub, but I don't know where it is. But yeah, it's this one basically where you can have, well, they have expanded the use case for it, but you sometimes don't need that much. But it is basically the same, that you have these, and I do like they have more relatable names than what I have in the uh homebrew. Like if I do homebrew right now, the names are not much friendly, but I think they are more friendly with the keyboard shortcuts and the positioning of the same. These make more sense. So like in this example, you can see that they have PUB for the public, which is behind this label, and then we have PU for the pull request, and then there's other P2. But maybe like if you press P and 2, it's bit breaking the flow for me, so it doesn't make much sense. I can do PK and it clicks here. Right. And then it does support Electron. It has search menus. I've not used these features. I have not even used the emoji finders because we have the emoji finder right here. So I don't need to use that. And One thing that I did like about is that this one I don't have to worry about the exact name. So if I see something and I want to press it, like let's say I want to press chat, right? Okay, it didn't get the text. Okay, so it's bad. In this case, I can go. If I do D, I can PP. It opens chat. Okay, but it did not get directly to the chat. I think it has no access for the native apps, maybe. Okay, that could be it. Right. Okay, so yeah, and other is homerow.app. This one. It's pretty neat. Come on. Mm. Yeah, A is surprising. This is a pretty neat demo that they have done. And they, oh yeah, of course, I mean, forgot to mention they also support scroll, the Vim mode sort of thing. So it's like you can have that. I don't know how it actually works because I've not used the home row for the scrolling and stuff, but it would be pretty cool to see. This one is 49 one-time payment, pretty game changing, and shortcut is I think the free alternative. I think they do have more support for other things, but and it is maintained. I think that they had few fixes in place last year. But yeah, yeah. So that is for this one. And yeah, I can go to the scrolling one. They have scroll keys, select and scroll. Okay. You can also have support for the keys when clicking. Yeah, I don't know. I labeled it for sure. There's a lot of settings to play with. Yeah, maybe there could be another video of I could do of explaining that one. Yeah. So this is basically Homebrew, and then aerospace. I think everyone would know what aerospace is. It's like a tiling window manager. If anyone is coming from the, uh, of course, I have to search for macOS. It's like an i3 tiling manager. I have been in love with Linux for a long time. I've been using it with i3, and we had i3 gaps back in the time, and then you would have workspaces defined with like control 1, control 2, control 3, and then control shift 1, control shift 2, and those hotkeys still pretty strong muscle memory. I think that same thing you can achieve with this one. It's pretty neat, but my problem is that I've not used two monitor setup before, so it's kind of pretty hard to manage with these ones. I don't know, people might have figured it out easily, but I have not looked into that how it works for multi monitor setup and stuff, because once you get into full screen apps it's pretty hard to do it. So back in the day when I used to have a Linux workspace like that, I used to have mm, I think we can, okay, I think we can maximize this. Yeah, okay. Back in the day when I used to have Linux, using it was to have like the entire workspace would have full screen apps. In this case, let's say I have uh, this would be having browser, and this would be code editor. I don't know why it changed. Okay, it entered the text one. So if I press, okay, this makes sense. Browser, code editor, and this one would be like terminal where everything happened, and it would be split into parts. I initially did not use Tmux for it, but then I slowly started to use uh, Tmux for the same, and I'd had a different experience with that. But it's like depends on what people feel it works good with them. But for me, it was like I had a single terminal with tabs, and that worked fine for me. You could have a different shortcut inside a specific terminal. I remember using, I don't know what terminal I used back then. Okay, but now, yeah, I'm on Ghosty and making another terminal for myself, which is different than a Ghosty, and it's of course a Glaze app, pretty small and highly customizable to my needs. So I'm still working on that, which was the agenda for the Glaze app that we were building today. So we'll get back to it maybe a little bit later. But yeah, that was the idea. But now my workflow has changed a bit. I'm not into this specific flow anymore. Instead, it's like I have sort of these screens at once, but with Mac, I would want to have another one as free desktop. Here, I don't want anything on this one, so it's slightly different than the flow. I use this one to take screenshots for anything that I would want to showcase and other things. And yeah, that's a different case. And for the browser code editor, pretty much goes the same nowadays. It's different that I don't split terminals. It has tabs, terminal with tabs, and agents here. So code editor becomes res sometimes. And yeah, I can showcase like what I had back in the day, and I am trying to build something like that even with the aerospace in mind, and then I can go forward with it. But yeah, it was ages ago, not something recent. I named it Mono. It had it still shows one view, which is weird. I think back then it didn't have. But yeah, I'll post it in the chat if anyone would want to. I think on YouTube we can add. Okay, we don't have anyone on YouTube, which is fine. And on Twitter, I will add this one. Yeah, it was this one. I will show it right here in the other screen. It was 6 years back. That was pretty old one. So yeah, you can see in the topmost corner we have workspaces. I did not go beyond 4 workspaces, and it had time in the center, battery on the right, Wi-Fi in the bottom left. Any songs that I would play, or any media or any notifications would come in the center part, and then we had brightness, sound, caps lock, num lock, all on the right hand side. It's pretty neat detail, and the fonts were pixelated, pretty cool. And then we had the other one, which was the second space, which I, well, this is not the exact workflow it looked like. It's just that this is just to showcase how I used to have things in place. But yeah, then we had browser, and of course it was Firefox. And then we had a terminal here. I don't know what terminal it was. And of course, random wallpaper. And then I was into P3 those days, so a P3 code, and on the right side we had the preview for the same. Then we went to file system, which had, well, this is weird name for dead dot later. But yeah, this was the only color that I saw inside the entire mono setup, which bummed me out that we had a purple icon left somehow, which was weird. Yeah, then we have V8 Tetris, and then we had Oniko there, and it's sleeping right here if you miss that little detail. And then we had Slack, oh, sorry, Spotify, and then we had more terminal stuff going around. And you could see we had other settings change across, like you could see battery is changing constantly. We had these caps lock changing, brightness and other stuff changing. It's pretty weird setup that I had back in the day, but pretty fun to build. People liked it. I did not have uh, any specific differences. And the phone was this one because it is pretty amazing phone. I think I've dropped it a while back. Uh, I'm not sure if it looks good in web-based font now that I'm into more web stuff. But yeah, I'll definitely give it a try. Mm. Yeah, that was the basically workflow I had. And you could see those mostly workspaces oriented. I've seen even on Windows desktop that you sometimes have different ones. But yeah, this is a bit different than that. Yeah, the setup was in that way. But now, yeah, of course, this has changed a lot. Like if you open right now, I have my coding windows on the other screen, of course, cursor, ghosty, and others, and I have music one here. So a lot of things have changed in this setup, but the idea is to have less mouse clicks, less time spent on, you know, clicks around and stuff. This idea is that we have home row as priority. So the first setup you see was the idea of that. So if you have like this ASDF and then JK, HJKL would be the ideal ones here. And then you can have, of course, space for thumbs and stuff, like ideal key placement that you have. And yeah, that was the original idea. And then Vim style navigation, I don't know how much people use it, but I use it uh, when I was trying to learn the Vim motions and stuff. So I sort of use it, but then I rely on the arrow keys as well. So it's switching. Never touch the mouse is basically with the home row, but I do touch mouse when feel like it. So it's not like that rigid rule or something. But then, yeah, the idea is to have specific definition of what hotkeys you use and what sort of applications you are trying to trigger on the daily basis, and then you go forward from there. And everything else you would want would go down the line. So there's like frequency of the top things that you could determine. Let's say if you have a normal working day workflows, click click click, press, so you can spend a day thinking like what are the most frequent things that you have placed. Maybe you don't need to track it manually. There might be an app for it, like for getting the stats on what you open the most. I don't know if there is, but I personally just have a feeling that I'm using this app the most, like maybe browser or music app, and then it goes down the line, and then it goes a little less and less. So let's say you have a recast extension that you use daily. For me, it's like I have to take screenshots, so I am using CleanShot for it. And there's no other way that I could not have like screenshot open, and then I have to click on the specific action to do the to screen capture. That's just insane. But now it's just the simple. If I do this, is press. I think there's a way to do it. Okay, that's Command E. So yeah, that's pretty. Keep on learning these days. So if I do this and I do Command E, it opens the. It did not open. What? Okay, you just have to hover over it. Yeah, that makes sense. I can have Homebrew do that for me. So if I do, let's say, let's start from the start. So I take a screenshot. I open Homebrew. And Homebrew did not trigger. Oh, so this is not. You just have. Hmm, okay. Yeah, this might be a problem on how we would want to define it. But yeah, that's why we are having a light stream duplicated, right? Okay, so for screenshot, you could have maybe annotate, annotate from, well, let me search screen shot. Open from clipboard. I think that would open. I do have an, okay, I do. Oh, okay. This is the problem. Open from clipboard. Yeah, this is the flow. So you copy it as is and then you open with the annotate from. So that makes sense. Okay. Maybe this could be improved a bit. This still feels a bit of a friction to do, but you get the idea of this initial pyramid that you have 10 to 20 bindings, which you can have it by heart. Like I have caps A or hyper A for the AI chat, and then I have S for screenshot, and then we have B for the dictation and the other apps that I open. And then here it goes like you could have leader key as well. You could have multiple key bindings part of it. Like I do uh, Command D, O, and S for the Slack, A for the Arc. A lot of apps that I've removed, of course, which I'm not showing here, but yeah, you get the idea. I'll also go through the hyperkey part. So the idea is to have this setup. Here you have caps lock, leader key, aerospace, home row, and then you have hyperspace for the Rekas. So this is not the app opening times, but this is how much frequency you should have for those ones. So sometimes you would want to have pre-instant openings and stuff. So in those cases, you don't need to have search. You know where you want to go and you just have it. But in cases where you have a lot of extensions, a lot of commands in place, like in the case for Raycast, it doesn't make sense that you just have, an idea of what are you looking for. It might take a little bit of time to go. Like sometimes I go in here and I have like there's a flux extension, or maybe not, there is not. And this I have to see, then I have to mm, open the other things, and then yeah, it has to go. And there's some rules that you could define with the zones and the finger zones, much friendly. S tier, S plus tier, S, A, B, C, and these are pretty weird ones that you would want to avoid after the combinations. So that's like done. So these were the categories that I have defined in place. So it's like focusing on apps, which I mentioned. Then I was using O to open, but these make more sense as well. Like you can do F to focus on the apps, or maybe T to toggle on the apps. But F is a pretty good placement in terms that you don't have to do a lot of switching around those keys. So if you do F for focus, it would switch like F S, F C, F T, F F, FP, and those things. So this right here gives you like 8 configurable shortcuts on the way you would want. And then do is for system ones. Then you could have like do system actions. I'll have like do screenshot, emoji picker, do not disturb, light dark, screenshot full. Like sometimes you don't need to have the selection part, you could do that. Lock screen, color picker, mute, like your top 8 actions or quick actions that you do. Then settings, wi-fi, volume, right, chef, bluetooth, display. You have copy k, history, paste markdown, paste plain, paste sequential. You could have more shortcuts assigned in them. And then you have these ones where you have uppercase, lowercase ones, define shortcuts, and then you could go for the other ones. And layouts, workspaces are pretty good if you have doing aerospaces have these core bindings, so alter define ones, option ones, and then you could have option 1 to 8, and then same with option shift 1 to move between them. Current project, communication, reference. Yeah, this is what I used to have with the Linux version. This pretty standard. But nowadays, like you have multiple setups, so browser lives on the other screen and not the other one. So it sort of works that way. But yeah, this is basically the uh, application that I was looking. Even you can have carabiner set up in this one. I don't, there's no specific application that is required to do this. You can have whatever apps you would want. You could create your own app, but the idea is to have these things set up. These are pretty good starting points to have. And yeah, of course, you could have monthly reviews. And I have a lot of conflicts right now with app shortcuts and stuff. I've moved, deleted a lot of apps that I don't need. And this doesn't make sense. You have a lot of leader key sequence in place, 3 plus keys, which is again like I would just open Recast and search for it and stuff, just doing that. Yeah, that was it for the keyboard first approach. We can have a deeper dive into that one with Recast V2, leader key, and more. I can have an entire stream just for setting how it should work and how it should look. But yeah, back to the Glaze app. So we did discuss the first approach, and now Glaze app. And you can of course keep learning the shortcuts like Paycast. I really like they show shortcuts pretty much easily and all the places, so pretty handy. Then if I go task list, I think we discussed this one. Apps that we were using, yeah, for the Glaze app, I'm still in the middle of renaming the app, so bear with me. Okay, then we have the Glaze app that we were looking at. I was building 2 more Glaze apps to say. The name is Meowie. It's a terminal based on a web-based terminal, and I am trying to make it work. in the way I want it to have. Right now, it is, of course, a lot of buggy, but I'm seeing it does the job done. So if I do, I don't like the design for it, and it does not support phone, but it is basically what it got for the starting. Blinking cursor doesn't work, and so it's like I have to figure that one out. Mm, okay, now it does work. Weird. I am a Berkeley mono guy, so if I have clear mono, yeah, looks pretty. Okay, it is blinking. Maybe it was not supporting. This is not Berkeley mono. No, something is going on. This is not it. Do I have to? This is not Berkeley mono. So yeah, a couple of issues that would have to look into the app to fix it, but the idea is to use WTerm, which is another terminal project, and then it sort of does the same. I have a couple of custom options that I would want to have in the settings, and would have multiple tab support options and stuff. I think tabs are pretty common these days, so it's like, and shortcuts, of course, a lot of shortcuts in them. It should be an inline find in the terminal, of course. The scroll, uh, better scroll, and then a lot of small details with the icon usage and stuff. So it's a pretty big project that I'm looking into, but it will take that much time to build as well. So yeah, that was one. So I could write Miawi, and then this other is pain. So if I open, mm, this one, so if I do search for, it is just basically for taking screenshots in a browser, and it's nothing else around it. You just press this one, and you have option to do a lot of things. It's a pretty small browser just for screenshots. You can have a lot of customization options, which I'll be adding for screenshots, like mobile views and stuff. So if I do mobile window, it will resize it to the specific one. I think it not did it break? Oh no. Okay, it does work. I maybe did something. Oh, something. So maybe from search it is not working as expected. This works fine. And I have, okay, this one works fine as well. But yeah, it's basically either to get the quick uh, browser open, a pane, and you can have whatever you want in here. So idea is to have more support for canvas inside this, and then you could have multiple tabs, but I don't want it to get pretty complicated. This is just for taking screen recordings and stuff. It's like you sometimes want a browser, but you don't have to open like a new tab and just show your personal bookmarks stuff and whatever you have open recently. But this is pretty neat. You just have to open it once and just close it when it's done, and it takes inspiration from Bros. Let me get this one. And of course, it is created by Ant Fu. If you know this repo, it's pretty good. I used to, this is how much you want. It doesn't have much customizations, and which is completely fine. You would want just to have simple frameless browser for screenshots, right? So it does exactly what it says, and it's pretty cool. You can drag, you can close, move backward, forward, pretty fine. And it's like Chrome based, so yeah. But mine, it's a bit different. I have ideas to customize the uh, theming around it. Sometimes I would want to have specific screenshots and other things in it. Again, it's a pretty slow incremental project and it will extend a lot, but yeah, that's the idea. And you can see cat scratching the end part of it. Okay. But yeah, I think we are at time, so I'll be going off. And yeah, stop the screen share. And I am available on Twitter. If there's anything, any ideas you would have suggestions for, feel free to share. Next time, I feel like we should dive in a bit deep with V2 Raycast and the keyboard first approach that we are designing. And I can actually work on the uh, draft that I'm having right now. So the one draft that you saw was me having an initial idea, and then Claude and other things working on it to define a more defined latex PDF from it. And well, I don't like PDFs anymore. Well, at least I don't know. So I'm making an interactive uh, page for it. I will have a different domain and stuff, and of course it's open source. So once I have it, I can start working on it as well with the stream. Yeah, that's it for today. I'll see you in the next stream. Bye bye.